Lexie Brown of the Los Angeles Sparks is here. And Lexie, I was thinking about your career and your journey, and it occurred to me, if going through it to get to it were a WNBA player, I think it would be Lexie Brown.
For sure.
How would you describe your path to this point, this career year you're having in year 6 with the Sparks?
I mean, like you said, going through it to get to it. The thing about being a WNBA player is it happens so fast. And I think in the last 2 years, I think because of like the explosion of interest, popularity in women's college basketball, there's been more eyes on that mini. And I say mini, and that's like that's being nice. I would say like maybe microscopic time between your college career and your WNBA career. I think there's been more eyes on it. And that transitional period is so hard. Like, depending on whether you made the tournament, obviously you get a little bit more time. But then you get to watch the tournament and potentially see girls find their way into the draft board based on March Madness alone. So, if you're sitting at home, like your spot, you might be a early or late first round pick, second round pick. You have a few seniors go crazy in March, and they slide up the draft board just because of that. So you make it all the way to the Final Four, you have probably less than 2 weeks to get prepared for draft night, whether you're invited there or not. You get your name called, and your life is changing in that moment. For me, I was in grad school when I was drafted. Went to the draft, got up the next morning and was in class.
Wow.
So, so me and my teammate, she wasn't invited, but she was also drafted later in the draft. So we were both in class, and all of our classmates were like, "Yeah, like, how was y'all's weekend?" And we were like, "We got drafted to the WNBA," and they were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! Oh, class is about to start. Great."
Right.
I missed my graduation, which was fine. I had my undergrad graduation, which was amazing. And got to Connecticut relatively quickly. Like, my mom and my friends had to pack up my apartment for me in Durham. I didn't have time to. And it was just quick, right to it, right to business, right into training camp. And honestly, off the rip, Coach Kurt Miller, who is my coach now in LA. So,
Yeah.
full
circle.
He flat out told me that I probably wasn't really going to play that much my rookie season, and just be like prepared for that. So, that was hard to hear. You're on a high. You've just finished your college season. We lost the Sweet 16 to Connecticut. That's still a huge accomplishment to get to the Sweet 16. And then, you're on another high from draft night. And then you get to training camp, and your coach immediately is like, happy you're here, but like, I got my group. So you're just here to learn right now. And, that was not an easy process for me. And I made my fair share of mistakes my rookie season as far as handling that.
But like what?
Just becoming like very, isolated. I think just dealing with that. I mean, I had great teammates, but that did try to reach out and help me, and I did appreciate them. But just putting my head down and working, essentially, which came off as isolating myself, when really I just wanted them to know that I was just always in the gym working. I was getting the extra workouts in. It was just hard. And then also living in Connecticut was not easy either. So just dealing with that. It was a rough summer, but it was a really good team that stayed together until this past off season. So 5-6 seasons of them, making a lot of potential championship runs. It was a really good team. They never got to that point of winning a championship. That happens. So I did learn a lot. But at the end of that season, we had our exit meetings, and he knew, I knew. Like, it's funny because, you get traded after your first season, and you're just like, was I not good enough to be on this team? Like, what did I do wrong? It ended up being, a blessing in disguise. I do think Kurt saw my talent and my potential. he just, I don't think how to utilize it in that moment. So the trade was good for me because my second season, the W, was actually a really good season for me in Minnesota. So I am thankful for him to, make that move because he could have just waived me.
Mm.
So he
Mm-hmm.
didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's a lot of journeywomen in this league. And I think my story, sticks out because I think I was a little bit more vocal about it. And, I'm just more of a more vocal person in general,
Yeah.
on socials and, during the season. But like this happens to a lot of players. And it takes a little bit of time to find your footing in this league. And you just kind of have to grind it out.
And you've definitely done that, whether it was through Minnesota and even just the roller coaster that was Chicago, waived and re-signed a few times before winning a championship and then not even sticking in Chicago. How would you summarize the Chicago experience?
For me, that was just, I call that like it was like a fun stop for me. Like obviously the whole process of getting, waived right before training camp started in Minnesota, pretty much with no explanation. And then, just kind of scrambling to find a training camp right before everyone had to report, to just the salary cap gymnastics that had to happen to get me back on the team. It was just a lot mentally. But I mean, I credit my friends and family. My mom, when I got waived the first time, my mom was just like, go enjoy your summer. Like you haven't had a free summer since you left school. So, just like go work out, stay in the gym, but like don't like lose your mind over this. Like if they need you, they're gonna call you and you're gonna be ready. So um, um obviously I didn't like seeing them, not doing well in their season, but they were going through I think like an 8-game losing streak or
Mm-hmm.
something like that when I got called back to come play. I came back, played one game, and then I got waived again. But like I said, that had to do with like salary cap stuff. But that was another team that had a core group that had been together for a lot of years. And you throw in Candace Parker, and it was a championship caliber team for sure. So my role on that team was just basically just going hard in practice because it was still, COVID stuff going around and, we didn't have our practice guys in. So we were just going at it every day in practice. The bench players and the starters, we had some tough days, then we had the Olympic break. So that was like 2 straight weeks of just hard practices because we didn't have any players on the Olympic team. So we
Yeah.
were all just in there going at it during that Olympic break. And I think, that was a huge turning point for us, that time period. And then a lot of us kind of just understood our role. And I don't want to say I was like the leader of the bench because I didn't really even get in. I feel like the leader of the bench mob, you still have to like contribute on the court.
Yeah.
I think I was just kind of the person that like kept things really light, and just kept the players that were playing confident. And that was a role that I really was proud of, and I really enjoyed doing it because those players are amazing. I learned so much, specifically from Allie Quigley, who probably at the time was the best, shooter in the league. So just being
Mm-hmm.
able to play against her, guard her, watch her every day in games and in practice, she taught me more than she probably even realizes, and I probably didn't thank her enough for that season. Um, but just being around her was amazing for me and my growth as a player, as a shooter. And just being able to experience that championship, like even though I didn't play a ton, I did score in the finals, which was cool.
Yeah.
But just being a part of that was amazing. And, we didn't have the best season. We finished 500. We were in the first elimination games in the playoffs, and we just started clicking at the right time. And we kind of just rode the wave all the way to the championship, and it was really fun. But unfortunately, like most of the team didn't stay after that win, that championship
Mm-hmm.
run was shocking to most. I mean, it was shocking to me. I've never seen a team win a championship and not immediately want to run it back.
Right.
But again, that's like the business of the WNBA. Like the salary caps, the people want more money, people want something different. And, you got to respect what people want in their careers. Theirs. But James was very honest. Coach Wade was like, yeah, like the whole team is essentially free agents and you are last on the priority list. And I was like, dang, but for your honesty, I appreciate that. But that led to another off season of uncertainty. And, I didn't get traded to the Sparks till not even
March.
maybe like, yeah, it was very close to training camp.
Almost April.
Yeah. So it was a lot of back and forth with James, like, okay, like, can you just like, because he picked up my option, which made me a restricted free agent. And I was just like, can you just release the option and let me be unrestricted? And he wouldn't do it. And that's fine because I'm valuable. I mean, there's a party that's frustrated and there's a part of you like, okay, well, he does see a little bit of value in me being restricted. And then he made that trade to LA. And again, very grateful for him making that happen because I had been wanting to play in LA for a minute. Nobody knew that though, but I love it here. And, last year was rough, but, this year we're getting it together.
So that journey from, being a top 10 pick to being traded, to being waived, to being, in and out of the organization with the Sky, and then ultimately, winning a championship and being traded to the Lakers. What I want, the Sparks. I beg your pardon. What I wonder is, what was the low point for you during that topsy-turvy time?
Honestly, the lowest point was when I got waived from Minnesota.
Okay. With no conversation, with no
conversation. It was after the bubble season that was like a super stressful but amazing experience. The things that we were able to do and accomplish in there were great. Just going through that, like you can ask NBA players too, like their experience was obviously very different than ours, but going through that together, like that's something like special. You ask we all joke about it like, that's something that we block out, like the bubble season. But it was like, that's still so like we were a part of that. I was coming off my second season in Minnesota. Like I felt like the Minneapolis, like they loved me there. I loved our fans in Minnesota. I still was playing, like I was first person off the bench. Like I had a role. But I loved it, and we had something special. Like we were building something special. I thought, I think the pandemic altered my career. Also, I think obviously with a lot of people altered a lot of things. I get to the bubble. I'm not having like stellar numbers, but I'm having some very impressive outings during that season, and then I go down with a concussion. So I'm not able to finish the season. So I end up leaving the bubble right before playoffs start. And then they ultimately lose the first round against Seattle, I'm pretty sure. But they didn't address why I left the bubble. They just said I left. And I thought that was kind of strange that they didn't address why I left the bubble. They just said Lexie Brown was like left the bubble. So I personally didn't say I had been vlogging. I had been vlogging this entire experience on YouTube. So if you had been following my vlogs, we would have known that I had been concussed. So again, the WNBA didn't really push the vlogs. The Lynx didn't really push the vlogs, which I also thought was weird. I wasn't the only player making them either, but they weren't promoting or pushing anybody. So I thought that was strange. So I leave. I don't say anything or address anything until after the season is over, because obviously, like, I'm still supporting the from the outside, and then the season ends and it's still nothing, no statement made about why I left. So I had to address that I had a concussion and I had to leave. So that was that, and I dealt with that for a few months. It took me a few months to get cleared from that concussion. Um, and then I didn't go overseas that year, and I'm just training like the most intense off-season training I probably have ever been in, and very excited to get back to Minneapolis. And I just don't hear anything from them. Like nothing about housing, nothing about flights, nothing about training camp. And I start reaching
Just
out,
ghosted.
just ghosted. And I was just like, okay. So I reached out to my agent at the time, and I'm like, okay, I think there's something going on and I need you to figure it out. And, he comes back and he's like, oh yeah, they've been trying to trade you. And I was like, what? Like, for what? And then it got to a point where I guess like nothing was working out. So then she just ultimately just decided to release me from the team. And when that happened, to this day, I have not had a single conversation with anybody in the organization, maybe one person. I still talk to the players, of course, they're amazing, but yeah. So at that point, I was just like at a loss for words, for feelings. I was just kind of like, what did I do? Like, business is business. I get that. But like, what did I do to not even deserve a conversation about it? So I would say I had put in so much work in the off season. Like I had moved down to Miami. I had worked with some amazing trainers on and off the court. I was like in the best shape of my life. Like I was really ready to have my season in year 4, it was. And then it all kind of just came crashing down. I was just like really upset about that. And then obviously Chicago happened. And surprisingly, like I was upset about, being away from Chicago, but I kind of looked at the makeup of that team, the final roster. And, there was a part of me that was like, I'll probably be back here in a few weeks. And I was. But like I said, like that whole experience was humbling. It was then ended up being fun, and you finish off with a championship. So then you don't even think about how the season started. You ended with a championship.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like that time of being in the best shape of my life, working so hard, to being waived with no question, like with no explanation, that was definitely the lowest point. And there was a point in that time where I was like, I'm done with this league. Like,
that's exactly where I wanted to go. Like, continue, but like, how did you not give into that feeling of enough? I'm done.
My dad, because and my mom was so supportive too. But my mom's like, Lexie, when you ready to go live your best, grown up life in whatever other field you want to do, like I'm here for it. I'm ready for it because she's been my person that I always am talking to. Like I have a great relationship with my mom, so she's been the person that has had to hear it for years and years and years about, the low points, the high points of being a professional women's basketball player. And she's just like, when you're ready, I'm going to support you. But, my dad, he was a coach of the WNBA. So he knows, what this is like. And I think the best thing that they told me, which they had been telling me, but I think after that moment, it finally clicked, was like, Lexie, everything is not a personal attack on you. Like, this is not we hate Lexie, so we're waiving her because we don't like her. We're doing this because we don't like her. Like, some things are just exclusively business decisions, and you just have to deal with it and move and operate like a professional. And when you do that, the next opportunity comes. Like, no one's going to be able to say, oh, she acted like this, or she doesn't know how to handle herself, or she was unprofessional about how we handled this. And I think that's, coming back to this situation I'm in right now, like just ultimately being a professional. I mean, that's what it has come down to for me, because I've seen a lot of players deal with similar situations and just handle it just horribly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're at home because
Mm.
of their attitude or reaction, not because of their play. And I don't think that's fair, but that's what happens.
So just to clarify, those thoughts of I'm done with this league, it was more about the business of the league and the inconsistency and the lack of job security. That was not about you and you losing confidence in yourself or even love for the game. What were those initial feelings of I'm done with this about?
Yeah, I think it was more just job security and
Mm.
um, is what I'm doing not enough? And yes, obviously you lose confidence in am I good enough to be in this league?
Yeah.
Um, but like anybody that like actually talks to me or is around me like knows like I am a basketball junkie. Like if there's a game on TV, I'm watching it. If there
Hmm.
is a replay of a game on TV, I'm watching it. I've become like the like mouthpiece of the NBA Twitter, like from the WNBA side. Like it's been like a really funny experience showing people how much I really know about the game and how much I actually love it. And that's what kept me going is that like I just love basketball so much. And
Mm.
being in the gym and I love the grind. I love off season. I love getting up early and going to the gym and working out and then like chilling for the rest of the day, just doing it over and over and over. Like off season is like my favorite. And even a
Mm.
little part of misses playing overseas because you just are in the gym all the time and you just get to play and the team is yours and you get to do whatever you want over there. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm a hooper at heart. Um, and like that really gets tested when you become a pro. Whether it's just the grind of the WNBA season, the physicality, the talent level that you face every single night. Then you go in the off season, you got to figure out how to stay in shape and be locked in for 8 months if you decide to not go overseas, or you got to deal with that grind of being overseas, which is not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Um, so you really learn a lot about yourself quick when you become a WNBA player.
Yeah, Hungary, France, and Israel. You've had stops over there. I mean, but like, so we started when I said, if going through it to get to it, where a WNBA player would be Lexie Brown. The other thing, and you're a little younger than me, just a little bit, but I don't know if in the movies you are. But you ever seen the movie Love Jones? Lorenz Tate, Nia Long. See Love Jones?
Yeah.
Okay. And I use this like persistence. You'd be surprised how far it could get you. It's just one of my favorite lines from that movie, right? And it's like now that persistence has you just experiencing such a growth. Like last year was a career year until this year, and now you've taken it to
Right.
another level. You're one of the best stories and one of the best shooters in the WNBA. And Nneka Ogwumike said that you were in the process of going from good to great, which I know you appreciated. She talked about this being an inflection point in your career. How would you describe where you are in your personal professional process?
I mean, I definitely agree with NECA. I was right next to her when she said that. I almost like wanted to cry. Like, I just love NECA so much. And being on her team has been one of the biggest blessings of my career for sure. Just the knowledge she has and the respect she demands from every single player, coach, owner, everything. Like just being around someone like her has been so incredible. So to hear those words from her, like that, like me, like that, she don't gotta say another nice thing about me ever again. Like for her to say that was amazing. But um, it's just funny, like how the conversation has about me has shifted, and I knew it
Mm-hmm.
would. This. God, and it's just like, oh, she just worked on this, she just worked on that, and I'm like, I've always had all of these things, like nothing that I'm doing, I've added, like I've always had all of these things. It's just about
You you were always a star. They just didn't know it.
right. Exactly. It's about like preparation meaning opportunity. And I've always
Right.
been prepared. I've been overly prepared for years and years and years and years. And I just never got the opportunity. So I'm just really happy for myself that I was prepared for the opportunity, because I don't even think that the coaches or other teams knew the opportunity that was going to present itself this season with the Sparks. Obviously, Nneka is our star. She's our superstar. And we go as Nneka goes, and she's the priority. When we're running our offense, obviously, if Nneka isn't playing well, then we're not going to win. Or if she's not getting the ball, we're not going to have a chance to win. But that next person that kind of still had kind of a question mark when we made all these signings in free agency, who's going to be that number two to Nneka. So that's why I think we had such an intense training camp. I think Kurt and the coaches were trying to feel out who's going to be that number two. And once the season started, it just ended up, I think, being me. And then I would say Jordan Canada is our third, as far as scoring or just having the ball in their hands. And, I think it was important that, there was a reason it panned out that way, because last year we were on the team together, and, we went through that up and down season together, and we're growing through this together, and we're figuring this new era of the LA Sparks together. And I think that matters, and that's important. And it's been very special. It hasn't been easy. But every, success story isn't easy. I think we're kind of shifting our motto for this year to a trust the process type motto, which, I wouldn't have minded starting the season, with that type of motto. It's funny that we're kind of shifting, we're kind of going through a rough patch right now. You kind of shift your motto to something like that. But, as a team in the locker room, that's something that we, we're locked in on. We knew that we had a lot of new faces, player personnel and coaching staff, so many new faces. We knew that this season wasn't going to be easy, but we have such a good group of women in the locker room. And that was something that was so important to us. Moving on to last season, not saying that the players that aren't on the team were bad people. That's not it at all, because we have some amazing people in the locker room last year as well. But this season in particular, we were just we just want good people and good energy in this locker room. And we do. And, we're going through some growing pains right now. And I'd rather go through them right now than in August.
You are one of the best stories in the league, one of the best shooters in the league. What's up with this 3-point contest? You're getting it. You're getting it.
I feel like the underage girl outside of the club, let me in, please. I've been trying to get in the 3-point contest for 3 years now. So there were rumblings and grumblings of a potential all-star selection this year, which probably is, not really possible if I continue to miss games, which was a bummer. But, if they invite me, I'll go. But it's going to be given a here, damn. I want them to really want me there. So I would love to participate. I did participate in the 3-point contest my senior year of college, and it was horrible. So I would like to redeem myself from that performance. 3-point contests are hard. They are difficult. Standing there and picking up the balls off the rack is that's not easy to do. I'm more a rhythm shooter, but I mean, it would be a fun thing to participate in. So I hope I get that invitation. It would be really fun. Allie is not part. I actually would have liked to dethrone Allie quickly, but she's not playing this year. She's won 3 years in a row, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a new 3-point contest champion, but it's still kind of gonna be fake because we can't go against the current champion. But love to participate in it.
Well, a couple of things. Your social media game is top notch. I was looking for the caption when we talked about, people thinking that you're some kind of different player. One of my favorites was they knew I was coming, but they ain't know how. That's one of my favorite captions. But speaking of contests, though, contests kind of run in your family. You know, y'all got a history of winning All-Star game contest. I want to go back to your dad, D. Brown, former Celtics great D. Brown, a slam dunk champion D. Brown. And I just want to know what kind of girl dad was he, and what kind of confidant is he now that you're following that same professional basketball path?
He is the best girl dad that you could ever ask for. He has a shirt that says girl dad and he wears it all the time. I mean, we have my little brother now. So, you know, his girl dad title has been a little compromised because he has a son now, but he's the best. People ask me all the time if he forced me into basketball, and it was nothing like that at all. He actually was a little bit against me playing basketball at the beginning because of me not being very good. And
And you
he's
were a
like,
tennis player, weren't you?
I love tennis. Tennis was
Yeah.
that was my thing. I wasn't very good at it either, but I loved it. But I wanted to spend time with my dad. So that's kind of how I fell into basketball. Like I just wanted to be in the gym with him like all the time. And, you know, there were conversations like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, you know, you can still go play tennis, you can go do whatever else you want. And I was just like, no, I want to
Yeah.
play basketball. Hang out with you. So you know, our training session started when I was like in elementary school. Like I was very young. We were just doing very basic, monotonous drills, like just to get the skill down. You know, I was a little chunky girl when I was growing up, so you know, we didn't know what type of player, athlete I was going to turn into. So he was like, one thing you're going to be able to do is shoot the ball. So he was like, a team is always going to need a shooter. So you know, that was something that we really locked in on at a young age, was 3-point shooting, and that's kind of what I was really good at, probably until 8th grade when I started, you know, slimming down a little bit. I grew a little bit, and a little bit of his athletic genes kicked in. So then I was, you know, still not super tall. So, you know, just became, you know, a point guard that could, you know, knock down the three. And then just as I got older, you know, I continued to grow a little bit, got stronger, started getting more locked into watching WNBA games, NBA games. You know, I was around the WNBA when I was super young when he was coaching with the Miracle and then the Silver Stars. And, you know, at that moment, that's when I knew that I wanted to be a WNBA player. Just having those experiences with him, you know, he brought me to like all the practices. We were at every game. Just having that relationship with him and just the relationships I built with the players was so special to me, and I don't think they understand the impact they had on my life. Just accepting me, like just this little annoying little girl, always at practice, watching them and bothering them, and you know they just accepted me and loved on me so much. And you know, that's when I wanted to be a WNBA player because I was around them and I'm like, these women are amazing and I want to be just like them. Um, but his impact on my game and, you know, as I've gotten older, you have the parents that are like super overbearing and, you know, always calling your coaches up or always, you know, online, just talking crazy about everything and just getting into it with people. Like my dad and my mom, I mean, they're the complete opposite. You know, as I got older and found more success, you know, I would take 2 steps forward, he would take a step back. Like, just like, go do your thing. Go do your thing, Lex. Like, I'm
Interesting.
proud of you. And I think that's something that I appreciate about him. And, you know, sometimes we look back and we're like, Dad, could you have like used your influence a little bit in this situation? Or could you?
Right.
And he's
you
always
maybe you
like, I could have, but like it wouldn't feel as good if I did. Because look where you are anyway. Like through it all. Like you did this, you worked hard. You didn't need me to pull any strings for you or, you know, throw my name around to get where you are. Like it's always
right.
been us, it's been hard work. And that's why like where you are now feels so much better, because we know as a family that like legitimately like it's been the work
Yeah.
that we've put together.
No, I like that. Sidebar, real quick. Born in Boston, do you root for the Celtics? You said you're
Oh,
a hooper at
of
heart. Okay,
course.
so I got it. And you're also an ACC network analyst, so you're a basketball opinionist, and we know you're active on social media. So I don't want to get too far away from your journey and your story, but I need your take on the Celtics. A, how they finished the season, and B, this Kristaps Porzingis trade that sends Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies.
Yeah. I think Marcus Smart was great for the Celtics, but I'm not upset to see him go. I think Porzingis finally like is being the Porzingis that everyone thought he was going to be. So I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
great pickup. Last year, I love Al Horford, but he's like, he's old. So I'm like,
He's 137 years old. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, they need like somebody down there that's like mobile and like that could potentially take over a game.
Mm.
And I think Porzingis is like perfect. He's young. I think Boston is obviously a great city. Like if you don't play well in Boston, like they're gonna let you know it. So he has to play well, and I think that he's ready for that mentally. And I want them to keep the Jays together. I go back and forth with that, and
Yeah.
I just love them together. And then some days I'm like, separate them, but more days than not, I'm like, I think those two are so special together. And I think they just need to find the right pieces to make those two work. And I hope they do, but I don't know. Jalen might be out of there, but I hope not. I want them to try one more time. But I was very surprised they lost that game 7. I was very confident that the Celtics were going to go to the finals.
So that leads me to another place I want to go with you. And by the way, Porzingis may be the NBA's version of Lexie Brown. Just needed the right spot to flourish, right? Just need the right situation to bring out the best in him. But I know one of your aspirations is to be either a WNBA or an NBA general manager, which you and I got that in common. I want to be more of an NFL general manager.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah,
That's
but
nice.
it's like I'd have to take a massive pay cut, and that ain't gonna work for my. I got 3 kids to put through college. It's like to start from the
Right.
bottom and then grind my way to the top. But I think I could do it. Like I'm a great fantasy GM. I'm a great Madden GM. I feel like I could pull it off. But I know that you could be a WNBA or an NBA GM, given everything you've seen, everything you've experienced, and your mind for basketball. So, if you were, let's go WNBA. If you were a WNBA general manager right now, what would be your first move? What would be your first phone call?
Right now,
Yep.
um, I'm calling all the college coaches and asking about their seniors. Because with this COVID year, the girls can stay. I think this is the last year. The girls can stay their additional year in college. So, um, like I think this next draft class is like going to be insane.
Mm.
Or it could be insane if a lot of them decide to take that 5th year. So I'm calling up all the college coaches or the agents or whoever you got to call now for these college kids and figuring
Yeah.
out like where my mind's at. And I'm just going to keep a pulse on that all season. Because that obviously like you don't say tanking exists, but like there are certain players that could potentially be coming out next year that could be incredible for the league.
Mm.
So I would definitely, keep a pulse on that. Um, and then just keep an eye out on like the younger players right now. I think that there's a shift going on in the WNBA with these younger players. And like I consider myself a younger player. I'm in year 6, but my body feels like I'm in year 2 or 3 because 3 of those seasons I didn't really get on the court. So, I'm feeling good. And like I said, like there's a lot of players in this league that don't, find their comfort zone or their confidence or, their role until like year 5 or 6. So I'm looking at, that group very, very closely these like 5 to 7 year players and seeing what they're doing. And those are the players that I'm looking at. And I think those are the players, even the ones that are, that have found their footing and playing super well. Like I'm looking at those players because I think that this group, our group, like our age, like we're coming. And, I think I don't like to say like we're taking over because like that seems like really aggressive and that's like we're stepping on people, like we're telling people get out the way.
But I get you. I get you.
But yeah, like you gotta respect the players that have come before us that are, a little bit older than us and still like out there getting buckets and doing their thing. But like the next wave is coming. And then the wave after us is also coming. So we have to find a way to honor and respect the ones that are a little bit older and still doing their thing, but also making space for the younger players that are now, finding their groove and, playing this new age basketball, this more positionless basketball. And then also making space for these young players who are bringing a new, attitude, a new whole fan base, their own swag to the league, that we've been wanting and needing.
That reminds me, I got Zaya Cook coming up on the show here. Just she's going through that transition, that immediate jump from the tournament and college to the draft and training camp and, baptism by fire. Like, how have you talked to her and what kind of, what are you observing in terms of how she's adjusting to the WNBA and what kind of advice have you imparted to her given the road that you traveled?
Yeah, I mean, from more of like a distance, because obviously you get into camp, you're not sure who's gonna like even your draft pick, like you still don't know who's gonna be on the team. I mean, the way she played in training camp, I knew she was a lot of this team. She had a great camp, plays with a lot of confidence. She plays with a chip on her shoulder, which I love. She had a great first game.
Yeah.
Like she probably had like the game that any rookie would like dream of. Your debut against Phoenix on ESPN, BG's home, like all these things. Like you just start the season on such a high, and then the ebbs and the flows of a season come, and you play this game or you don't play this game, you get in this game, and just watching her, like she's handling it well. But you can tell, like obviously no one wants to not play, so you take that into consideration. Like obviously you want to be on the court, so you respect any way someone feels about. I ain't played as much this game. Like like obviously I don't want you to. Nobody would be happy to not play, so you obviously understand that. But I think the opportunity she's been given, she's done good things, but she has a lot to learn. But we also take into consideration how quick the turnaround is and the amount of things that she was able to pick up in camp as fast as she did was like super impressive. And I think that's where a lot of the young players and the rookies get lost is like the terminology, the coverages, and like little things like that. But like she kept up with a lot of those things really, really well. We were like all very impressed. And, you credit that to her, Zaya is a hooper. Like we all know that. And then her coach, Dawn, we asked her, like, hey, Zaya, how you know all this stuff? She's like, we do this. We did this at South Carolina. Maybe we called it something else, but, we do these types of coverages, South Carolina. So she's been really good in that aspect. But she's hitting a learning curve. And I just have been telling her, like, just stay confident. Don't overthink. Which is easier said than done. But I'm like, I've been exactly where you've been, Zaya, like where you get thrown into the game, you make one mistake, you get pulled right out. Like, obviously that is not an easy way to play basketball, like at all. Yeah. And I know. Yeah. I know it from experience. But I also told her, I said, hey, Zaya, Kurt was my coach when I was a rookie and I didn't even see the floor. So you're in a better spot than I was. Like, you are out there playing. I didn't play at all. So I think that, your confidence wavers, of course, your rookie season, that's normal. But as often as I can, I just tell her to like stay ready. Stay confident. Don't overthink. And at the end of the day, whatever mistake you make on offense, you can get it back on defense.
Yeah,
And that's
it's good advice.
focus. But she's doing great. I'm very happy for her. I know she loves being in LA. And like I said, it's a long season. And we're gonna need her. And I really enjoy being out there with her. And she's amazing. She's a great rookie.
Couple more things I want to hit with you to that point about her being in a better spot than you are. But like, this is your first season, like, with this real like solidified, key player role, on the team. And of course you're doing it with, the coach who drafted you and Kurt Miller. Like, how different is he? How different are you? And additionally, how you're being used? What has it unlocked in Lexie Brown? If that makes sense.
I think obviously we both grown up a ton. I was a little 23-year-old fresh out of college when we met. He actually reminded me that in our meeting when he told me that I wasn't really going to play, I walked in with Chick-fil-A, and I don't remember doing that. But like, why would you walk into a meeting with your head coach slash GM with Chick-fil-A, like eating in the meeting? Like, why would you do that? Like, that was just me being like dumb. So it's like little moments like that we, joke around about. But yeah, I would say like I was a little spoiled. You come from a program like Duke, and everyone just takes care of you and make sure you have everything you need. Like, not saying that they don't take care of us and make sure we have everything we need in the W, but it's like very different from college. So you kind of have to like deprogram yourself out of that, just being like taken care of like a child all the time, because that's what you are in college. You're a kid. And like I said, you got to make that transition fast from a college kid to a professional grown up in the WNBA. So I've grown up, I've matured, I've understood business, but my work ethic has never changed, and that's something that he has always been very complimenting of to me about, was my work ethic. And for him, I've always respected him as a coach. I think that even when I was in Connecticut, he was a coach that I could be coached by. Just the situation at the time just wasn't right for it. He's also a basketball junkie. He loves film. I love film. He's very knowledgeable about the sport. And I respect his dedication to the craft. Being a head coach is not easy, and the way he approaches every day is we think it's a little extra at times, but it works for him, and he's gotten to all the WNBA finals for a reason. So I've always respected him as a coach, but to see both of us growing, he's kind of at an inflection point in his career. He got to all those finals, but was never able to win a championship. I'm at this point in my career where I'm finally getting an opportunity to showcase who I am as a player and as a leader. And for us to, have this full circle moment and be able to experience this together, I think is really special. And it's nice, that we've been able to put all that behind us and, and conquer this opportunity together.
I want to hit on something I know is important to your development, confidence, your process, and that's Athletes Unlimited. But not just as a player on the court, but also just as a basketball mind. You're on the executive committee, right?
Yep.
And again, it feels like that dovetailed and has helped when it comes to your aspiration of being a general manager. Just that format and that dynamic of Athletes Unlimited. If you could speak to that.
Yeah, Athletes Unlimited was amazing. That changed my life in so many ways, from the relationships to the networking to that environment in particular was like exactly what I needed in that moment. It's very fun. It's not. I mean, there's a little bit like being in the executive committee this year was a little. It was a little stressful compared to last year, just being a player. But like, it just felt like AAU, like how you felt when you were a kid, just, coming to games and just hooping with your friends and just having fun, and like learning and growing together. So, Athletes Unlimited is a league. It's 44 players. The executive committee that I'm now a part of, we handpick all 44 players to come play for 6 weeks in a city. This past season, it was in Dallas, Texas. And every week there's a captain. There's a leaderboard. You get points for everything that you do on the court. You get plus points, minus points for literally every single thing that happens on the court. And then as you accumulate points, you get spots on the leaderboard, and the top 4 players leaderboard are the captains, and you get a draft every week. So you get to draft new players every week, and you have, new looking teams every week. So I think that is like so much fun. I had a blast being a captain last season. This year I missed some games because I was still doing my ACC network stuff. So I kind of fell behind a little bit in the leaderboard, so I wasn't able to be a captain at all this season. But it gave me like a new perspective of AU. Last year I was a captain like almost the entire time, and then this year I wasn't one ever. So it gave me like a very new and refreshing view of Athletes Unlimited, which I think is important as like a executive committee member. Just to see you got to operate very differently when you have no chance of being a captain. Like I was so far behind, like I knew I was never going to get in any of those top 4 spots. So you have to, I mean, it's still like a league and you still want to win. So there's still a way you have to carry yourself and perform and be a good teammate to get picked up the next week. So, it's still a game. It does turn into like, a business type situation. At some point. You don't want to be one of the last picks because people think you got a bad attitude or something like that. But it was so much fun, and to see the opportunities that people have gotten from Athletes Unlimited has been great. And then to see, maybe like a player like me, for example, I feel like I maybe was considered like a fringe player that first season I played AU, and just the confidence that it gave me and instilled in me and boosted me to going into that first season in LA. Like, I don't think I would have made that Sparks team if I didn't play in AU.
Wow. Yeah, that was life changing. Listen, before I let you go, future GM, NBA or WNBA, I asked you about your beloved Celtics. You're in LA. I got to ask you about what you would do with the Lakers. Nice run. Everybody else making moves. You're the Lakers GM. Rob Pelinka says, "Hey, I'm stepping down. Lexie Brown taking my spot. What are you doing to get the LeBron, AD, and the Lakers back to the NBA Finals?" Or unless you just hate them. It might be in your blood to hate them. So, well, you can't say that because you're in LA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was actually getting a lot of heat because I cheer for the Celtics so hard. And they're like, "You're on the Sparks. You can't do that." And I'm like, "Yes, I can. Okay, yes, I can." And I already said, if it came down to the Lakers, Celtics finals, I was going full Celtics. I'm sorry, but what am I doing with the Lakers? I'm getting I thought that they were going to try and get Bradley Beal, like a Bradley Beal type. He's going to Phoenix. I'm getting them like a two-way player and potentially like a point guard. Like,
okay.
It seems easy. I mean, could they bring Kuz back? I don't know. Like, Bron and Kuz seem to have a pretty good relationship. They all out in France being fashionistas right now together. Maybe that they're, cooking something up over there after the Louis Vuitton fashion show. I don't know. I'm bringing over a two-way player and a point guard. I've been peeking on Lakers Twitter. They've been putting Jared Vanderbilt in some trades, but I think he's very important for them. I think they need to keep him. And I just want Anthony Davis to stay healthy. I think he could be one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
If he can, consistently stay healthy. And then obviously LeBron is LeBron, but he can't do LeBron things like he used to. So I think they need to just surround him with, I think his thing has always been like, I'm going to play with this group and I'm going to carry him. And I think that's what people love about LeBron. But I think I would love to see Bron like on a team with like more than one other superstar and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Like I would actually love to see that. Like how everybody else is kind of loading up. Like I feel like him and Dame are kind of on the same wavelength. Like I'm a win with no matter what. Like whoever I got with me, like we gonna win. Which I love that mentality, and that's why I love Dame. That's why I love Bron. But I would love to see Bron be like, all right, y'all, come on, let's go, and like let's stack this team up and run through the league. Like I would love that.
Well, I'll tell you, I've loved talking to you, Lexie. Love getting to know you. Love reflecting on your journey, and I love your story because it's not just a story of persistence and perseverance on your part, but it's also a lesson in patience. Really for the WNBA, but athletes in general. Like we are very quick, especially in media, to decide what somebody is right at the outset, what somebody is or what they will or won't ever be or ever accomplish. And you're an example of what patience can bring in what you're doing for the Sparks in year 6. Can't wait to see what you do the rest of the season and beyond. Yo, let's keep in touch, all right? I need to pick that basketball brain of yours sometime.
Yeah, no, when we can keep in touch now, but when that NBA season starts, we can go back and forth, talk about all types of things. I love talking about basketball. You'll see. You'll be like, Lexie, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to talk about this right now.
All right, Lexie, we appreciate you. Take care, get healthy, and have a great rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for kicking it with your main man, Michael Smith. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, but also subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, tell your friends about it. Oh, and be sure to follow me on social media.